Hello class, so let's look at answering these two problems here. We have the first one here on the left. You have an order of operation here. We have a multiplication here. We have an addition inside the brackets. So of course, using BEDMAS, we are gonna have to start with, so we have BEDMAS. And remember, addition and subtraction are the same or the same order. Division and multiplication are also the same order. Since in this problem here on the left we have a multiplication and an addition inside the brackets, we're gonna start with that first. So first we are gonna go ahead and do the brackets. That's inside the brackets again. Working inside the brackets, we have the first operation we have to do here, which is the addition. Again, it's because inside the bracket, addition comes at the end technically, but you're usually sorry, but because it's inside the brackets, it's gonna come first. And second, we're gonna do the multiplication here, which is the second operation that we have. Remember, technically, the bracket is not an operation, but the reason why we put it first is because inside the brackets, whatever operations we have, we're gonna go with those first. So we're gonna do BEDMAS inside the bracket. Luckily here we only have one operation. So really two steps here. So let's look at the solutions there. So the first operation, we are gonna add the fractions 5/6 plus 2/3. When you do that, you're gonna have to copy whatever you're not working with as it is. Don't just forget about it. Inside the bracket, we're gonna add those two fractions. The first step you do when you are adding fractions is to get the common denominator. And when you do this, here we have to multiply both the top and the bottom by 2's, because if we do that, we're going to end up with 6 at the bottom as our common denominator. Remember, the first thing you want to do is you want to see, can I turn the same fractions or the same denominators, can we get them to be the same? That's the easiest thing if you can, not always the case, but in this case here, if you multiply, always look at the smaller one. What can you multiply it by? If you can't, then we have to probably multiply both denominators by each other, or let's not think about a different problem since we have this one here in front of us. But again, here we have the 3, we can turn it into a 6 by multiplying by 2, and of course what you do to the bottom you have to do to the top as well. So we're going to multiply the whole fraction 2/3 by 2/2, or 2 by 2, 3 by 2. We are going to end up with so 5/6 comes down as it is, nothing changes here, plus the 2/3 becomes 4/6. And since you have the same denominator now, we just add the tops. So the 5 plus 6, so I'm just going to do it here. You don't really have to show this step. You can just go ahead and add them up, but I'm just doing it here so you know where it's coming from. And of course, remember, every time we copy or create a new step, we have to bring the whole expression down, not just what we're working on. So 2/3, and inside the bracket we have 5 plus 4 on top and 6 at the bottom, and we end up with, finally, we're gonna end up with 5 plus 4 is 9/6. Okay, remember, somebody might say, well, what's the operation here? That's a question I often hear. If there is nothing, the default operation is always called or what we call default, which means if you don't see an operation, it's a multiplication. Multiplication is, of course, there's an x and there's a dot multiplication. There's a lot of different ways to express it. You can put both fractions in brackets and parentheses, but in this case we don't have to. This is one of the ways you can show two fractions multiplied together. Probably the easiest operation is the multiplication, because all you have to do is multiply the top by the top and the bottom by the bottom, meaning 2 by 9 at the top. At the bottom we have 3 by 6. Somebody might say we can cancel the 3 and the 9. Dividing both of them by 3s, we're going to get 1 and 3. It doesn't really matter. Whichever way you do it, it should work the same, and you can say the 2 and the 6, and you can end up with 1, I guess, in this case. We'll see. So here you're going to end up 2 by 9 is 18. 3 by 6 is also 18, and you can divide both of the top and the bottom by 18, or you can say anything divided by itself is 1. Whichever way you want to look at it, the answer is 1 at the end. Okay, so those are the steps here. Again, we started with the addition inside the brackets first, and then we do the multiplication. Let's look at another example here, and this example has something that might be a bit confusing for some. We talked about that in class, and we mentioned it before, that decimal means it is a mixed number. We can write it as a mixed number, and since we're working with fractions, it's really easier to use the same numbers, decimals or fractions, but 7 over 8 is a bit messy, so let's work with fractions a lot easier. So the 2.5 or 2.5, the easiest thing you can do is rewrite it and say 2 and 5/10. So that's how you would write 2.5, 2 and 5/10, and is the decimal, and 5, since it's only one place after the decimal, we're talking about tenths here, so you can say 5/10. That's one way. Somebody might say it's 2.5, and they know 0.5 or 0.5 is a half, and they can say 2.5. That is correct. That's not wrong, but we will do that next before we start working with this problem. Plus 2, and that's what 2.5 divided by 7/8 plus 2. We mentioned this before. The first thing you want to do is write your mixed numbers and whole numbers as fractions if you have a fraction for order operation, or if you have one operation. So the 2.5, you remember, you have to multiply the bottom by the whole number, and then you add it to the top. And for the whole number, you just make it over 1. Okay, so any number, 7, so we do 7 over 1, 5 would be 5 over 1. That's the easiest way you can do it. So the 2.5, 2 by 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so this becomes 5 over 2 divided by 7 over 8 plus 2 over 1. Now we have fractions. Let's look at the order of operation. What are we doing first? We have a division and we have an addition. So what are we going to do first? Of course, it's going to be the division and then the addition. So now let's look at this. 5 divided by 2, 5 over 2 divided by 7 over 8. We said keep, change, flip, or multiply by the reciprocal. Multiply by the reciprocal doesn't sound like anybody I know how they speak, but it's keep, change, flip. Those are the actions you have to do, which means keep the first fraction, change the operation into from division to multiplication, and you flip the second fraction. Okay, and of course what we have here, add 2 over 1, that's not going to change, because that's where a lot of people make mistakes, when they just focus on what they're working on and they forget about the rest. You shouldn't do that, because that is completely a different problem. So 5 by 8 and 2 by 7, so that would be 40 over 14 plus 2 over 1, or the 40 over 18. Again, you could have simplified the 2 and the 8, but I'm acting like I don't know that, and we have 20 over 7 plus the 2 over 1. The 2 over 1, again, here we have an addition. That's the last problem we have, the last operation we have to do. For the addition, we need to get rid of that, or the 1, we can turn the 1 into a 7 easily by multiplying by 7. And of course, what you do to the top, you have to do to the, or sorry, the bottom, you have to do to the top. So the 7, you have 14 over 7 is added to 20 over 7. The tops add up, so we end up with 34 over, the bottom does not change, over 7. Remember, if you have an improper fraction, how do you know? Because the number at the top is larger than the number at the bottom. So you need pretty much to find out how many 7s are in 34, or do the long division, and the remainder would be the numerator. Whichever way you do it, we can just do it the simple way. How many 7s are in 34? That would be 4. If you were not sure, you can use a calculator. When you divide and that whole number before the decimal, that's how many bottoms you have in the top. So we have 4 7s. 4 7s are 28. Again, you can use a calculator to ask yourself these questions, but hopefully you don't need that. So you have 28. 28 minus 34, you end up with 6. So 4 and 6 7s is your answer at the end.